and I design and I teach. I don't publish too much. I teach at the local Mars Crank-ins. So I'm going to give you guys a tutorial and some advanced CSM techniques. When Celeste contacted me, I told her that, hey, you know, flat knitting is way underrated and you can do so much with it. So my topic is flat knitting and my demonstration is going to be heel flaps with gussets because, well, they're flat knitted. So just as a demonstration, I'm going to flip this camera back around to my machine. There we go. And I'm going to give you a couple of ideas on what can be done with flat knitting. This is a sock top for kilt hose. It's a sample as of right now. This side has a hung hem on it and it just doesn't lay really flat. So this side I doubled, but the center piece is flat knit. So you have a chain stitch selvage edge on the outside that is picked up on the needles. And I'll demonstrate that when we get to the bottom of the heel flap. For the previous question about children's socks, here is a pair of toddler socks. They are 54 needles at the top, 48 needles at the bottom. So the ankle has been narrowed. And on this side, you can see the seam. If you look closely, let me get down here in the light so you can see that. The seam runs right here. So it's not very visible. I do my own technique for seaming. I'll show you on the inside because I like to butt the edges so that there's no ridge against the skin. There we go. So that chain stitch selvage edge is just butted together. And then I have one row of knitting that I latch up on the inside. I developed this technique when I was making gloves, which I'm not even sure I have that pair of gloves here. I bet I do. I bet they're on the other side of the table. Hang on just a second. I'm going to show you an example. So on these gloves, they have, well, everything. They have beadwork, they have ribbing, they have cables, they have lace. I was going all out when I made these. So the thumb gusset, which is cabled all the way around, is flat knit. The seam is invisible because on the other side of this cable right here is where the selvage stitch, the chain selvage stitch, is hung to do across the palm of the hand. So, and I have this edge right here shows a gusset, a flat stitch gusset that goes into the hem, to the thumb here. The fingers are seamed. I don't know if you can see that really well. Let me get it underneath the light. This is a machine seam. I seamed that right on the knitting machine. One of these here. These two, I did the seam coming right from one to the other. One of these gloves has a, let me see this one. This is a hand stitched seam. It's a little less obvious than the machine stitched hem or the seam. The machine seam, you know, you can see the edges. This one's pretty invisible. However, on these infant socks, you can see that the traditional seam sticks out. So you have this ridge that goes all the way down the sock. I didn't like that. I didn't think it'd be very comfortable in a sock. You know what? I'm not quite sure it's the room lights. It's this light. You can't see anything because I'm not under the light. There. Oops. Maybe I need to zoom in a little deeper. Would that help out? So that's a seam.
That's
a
what
traditional seam.
Valerie. You zooming in. That's amazing. That's good. Really good.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So this stitch pattern can be found in the antique manuals. It's called the honeycomb, and it's designed to be turned to the outside. Now, I attempted a fancy heel on this, but it was very labor intensive, so I probably won't make a mate to this one. Other examples. This is one of my failures. Might as well show a failure, right? So I don't think the design turned out too bad. It was very, very, very big. The thumb gusset is quite visible. I'm not a huge fan of that. So I never bothered to seam up the fingers. Oh wait, I must have. Yes, I did seam those fingers because, well, they're round. So that one's seamed, this one's seamed. I'm not crazy about those either. So anyway, this is one of my failures that I think I'm going to revisit. Okay, let's get to work. Let me get this light back out of the way so that you can see the cylinder. Maybe that's zoomed in a little too much. There, that should work. Can you see the needles? Okay, so I'm going to do a few rounds. For those of you who are pretty new to this, I have a couple of patterns, in particularly that relates to this demo. I have a heel tutorial. It's 11 pages, and it's all about flat knit heels. There's only one that has any short rowing in it, and that's because that's what all my toes were done with. That tutorial is free on Ravelry. So if you go to patterns and just punch in my name. All right, so we're gonna pretend like my leg is done. I'm just gonna take up some slack here. Awesome, leg is done. Now I'm gonna pull up the needles in the back, which is the instep. So I'm only working on the heel needles right now. So I'm gonna call this row 1. We're gonna come back on row 1. I'm gonna hang a couple of weights. I'm using, it's a pastry blender with a pair of old blue jeans stuffed with pennies. About 8 ounces. I have 2 pastry blenders, so 4 weights for a total of 2 pounds. They seem to work for me. So with flat knitting, you want a chain stitch edge. So how you get that is you pull the first needle up and the last needle's down. Now for your usual short row sock, you're doing stockinette. We're not going to do stockinette. We're going to do a hand knit type heel flap, which is a slip one, knit one, is how it's written in the hand knitting manuals. It essentially translates into the CSM as hold one, knit one. So if the person who makes these could please put their contact information in the chat group, I will be using this. So this is a gadget that pulls up every other stitch. If you don't have one of these, and I'm still not really good with it, I've been using a guitar pick forever. So I have every other needle up. This is going to create a tighter, I know I always have my hands in the way. It's a bad habit. This is going to create a tighter, shorter flap. It's going to be much thicker. So what I'm doing here is I'm lifting the first stitch on the yarn carrier side. All the rest are going down. And I'm going back across. I'll try to keep my hands out of the way this time. I'll hang knits or hang weights instead. So now I'm coming back and grab my gadget until I get frustrated, and then I'll go back to my guitar pick. Okay. The gadget really is faster than this. The last needle goes down. So that's what's gonna create my chain stitch edge. Is I have a wrap, it knits, then it's held so it slips and it automatically wraps. When you push your needles down, don't push them down all the way, just until the spring gives. The machine's gonna pick that up, so it doesn't need to go down all the way. This is row 4. And I'm gonna move my weights up because I can see that they're starting to raise up the needles. I might have to put a third one on here. Okay, so this is the boring part. As I'm dropping stuff all over the place. Maybe if I just slow down and focus, this will go much, much better. And the last needle goes down. Yep, I need a weight there in the middle. I usually always have my hands in the cylinder, but that doesn't really communicate well for teaching with my hands in the way. Yes, I am using exactly half the cylinder stitches for the heel flap. So what we're going to do is this is a 60 cylinder, so I'm using 30 needles for the heel flap, and I am going to do 30 rows. That is going to give me 15 chain stitches. And it just so happens that if I do it that way, then the math is going to turn out for my heel turn so that it's going to make it easier so that I can do the exact same depth on the heel turn as the short row heels that you guys are used to, or I can deepen it by increasing the short rows at the heel turn, and I'm going to show you how to do that when I get there. That's row 7.
Hey, Valerie.
Yep.
Somebody asked, can you zoom in closer so that the needles are showing?
Oh, yes, I can.
It's a little dark.
I think the problem is that the needles are kind of the same color as the upholstery on the chair you're sitting in. So when you're far away, there isn't enough contrast. You know what I mean?
Oh, gotcha.
That's
yeah, maybe I can change just the camera angle a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think that might
Does that work?
I'm sure somebody will tell us.
Ah, somebody said better. Awesome.
And she's center a bit. Somebody said. Although I think you're okay. I think you're okay.
Okay. I need to move my weights up because I can see that my stitches are starting to rise. And first one is up. All the rest of them are down. This is going to give us a really nice fabric. And here, when I get thoroughly bored with this, I'll show you an example. Last one is down. And somewhere, see, I have 2 down right here. Somewhere here, I am missing something. Yes, right here. The first one is up and the second one is up. So no matter what cylinder I use, I always seem to find that for this, it always works out that the last needle is down right at the correct. There we go. Check those latches real quick. And we're good to go. Where am I at? 10-ish. I'll count these when I get towards the end anyway, just to make sure. I think they're going to be a little bit tight because it seems that I'm rushing here. Oh, that's going to be better. Oh, oh, check this out. This is the coolest thing. I don't mean that it's like cool that I dropped a stitch, but I get to show you how to relatch a dropped stitch. So first thing you do is drop those weights. Okay. Now I'm not even going to pull that needle. I'm going to get something else because it'll be bare getting it back in. So if I look at this, I have the edge. This is a hold one, knit one. This one's knit all the time. Nope, this one's knit all the time. Hold, knit all the time, hold, knit all the time. So this one's not going to be as exciting as I thought it would be. Did I miss it? I did, I missed it. There we go. Now I am using, for my relatch here, I am using a flatbed needle because they're nice and long. Just pop that right on there. It's like watching paint dry. Ta-da! That last one's pretty stiff. Okay, put that down. While I'm here, I'm going to count these. Okay, so these chain stitches, I'll do the ones on this side. Maybe you can see these. So they're rather large. Ooh, and these are really tight too. I'm going to have a tough time rehanging those. So I have what appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I am on row 10. On this side, I have one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means I'm on row 11. Okay, first one's up. That was a little high. If they're a little high, your machine will stop. It will just say, I'm not playing anymore. Now, I have a missed one here. This is going to be a piece of cake. I'm not even worried about this. I'm going to pick this one up. Yep.
They're saying that the camera angle is getting to the upper part of the screen. Can you lower?
Oh, it's sagging. I probably bumped the leg on it.
Yep, that's okay. Just letting you know. That's what people are asking about. They want to see what you're doing.
Aha. I was hiding those needles. You're right. Those needles are hard to see against my dark floor and the dark seat. I could throw a towel on my lap.
That might be a good idea. A white towel on your lap might be good, or a neutral color.
Ta-da! Not that it's all that clean. Oof, it's actually not very clean, but okay, this should be able to work.
Yeah, that's much better.
Is that better? You can see those needles now?
Yeah, thank you.
So this one was not up. So all I really need to do is I just flipped that stitch over and pulled that, the old stitch off of the front of it. That's not gonna make any difference whatsoever. And it looks like I did the same thing over here. I missed one. Whoop. Pull that up, pull it over, Now it looks, it's the same as one of the slip stitches. Ta-da. Okay. So now on this side, boy, I am a mess. Looks like this one didn't knit. Pop that puppy right back in there. Hold, knit, hold, knit. All right, now we're ready. That one's up in hold, we're in good shape. Make sure those needles are open. I have to reapply my weights that I dumped on the floor because, well, that's the habit that I have. You need to get rid of them, dump them on the floor. Okay, that was row 12. This is 13. This one's up, this one's down, every other one's up. Anybody have any questions so far? Now I have one that's too high. See how that jammed right there? You know, I'm not gonna miss any if I just do it with my finger. It's a little slower, but I'm not gonna miss any. And down. And that chain stitch selvage edge is coming along nicely. I do need to move my weights again. You see how these aren't sitting down and I'm not pulling that latch down? Of course, when you're short rowing a heel, you're gonna get the same indication from your needles that it's time to move your weights. And I have not been clicking my row counter. So we'll have to count these, and this one's not down. I wonder if, now here's the cool thing about a Laguerre. This thing will just go backwards. It will just go backwards. And then I unclick this and come back. So that's also the dangerous thing about a Laguerre. You don't have to wait for those cams to clear because the cams are closed. And they're shaped like a little house. So they just ride up and down either way. Yep, everything looks good. There goes those hands again. Let's see if that will, nope, it's just gonna catch that needle. I thought that needle was a little high, but no, the machine doesn't seem to care. I'm gonna raise these up a little more. Gonna raise this up a little bit more. And since I've completely lost count of what I'm doing, I think I'm gonna count these selvage stitches again. So I have on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That one is 11. And we are on an even number. So this should have one more. So we should be on row 23. There we go. Last one's down. Yeah. I think I just need practice with this. But when I'm doing them, when I'm doing these on my own, it's just kind of a meditative thing. I just keep messing with my fingers. Push all those bad boys down. That one's closed. There we go. By my calculations, this should be row 27. And we're only going 30. We have 30 needles. We just need to move up. 30 needles, 30 rows. And I will show you when we hang these selvage stitches, how that works out to the same math as the short row heels. 28. I'll be in trouble if I start hanging these puppies and I don't have enough selvage stitches. So we'll do another count just to make sure. And the last one is down. That obviously needs to come up more. All right, so let's count these. So we should have 15 selvage stitches on one side and 14 on this side. So I'm going to count this side, because if I have 15 over here, because this is where I started, then I know I'm in good shape. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We need 2 more rows. This will be 14. And this is going to be 15 on this side and 14 on this side for row 29. And I'll show you why I'm going to stop. I always stop on the last row of whatever section. I break this whole thing down into sections. And I always stop on the last row of the section so that I can set up for the next row of, or the first row of the next section. That way I don't have crazy things showing up like too many selvage stitches on one side. So this is row 29. Okay, so now I'm going to start setting up for the heel turn. The flap is done. I have my entire, I just call it a hold one, knit one heel flap, because the hand knitting instructions are slip one, which is the exact same thing as putting a CSM needle up in hold. When it's up in the hold position, it holds the stitch, but it will not knit a stitch. So it's the same as slipping a stitch when you're hand knitting. So at this point in time, I'm going to put my heel spring on, because my heel turn, I am not going to be doing decreases. I'm just going to be doing increases. So I am going to increase 1/3 from the 1/3 section, which is marked on my cylinder. So this is a 30 stitch heel flap. I'm going to start with the center 10, and I'm going to be increasing outwards. So a couple of different increases that we can do. Let me see if this shows up really well. This is a, let me see, maybe it shows up right here. Can you guys see that? This is a square heel, okay? Or it's also called the Dutch heel. So this, the turn is exactly like the cap heel that's in your antique manuals. The cap heel is it's a heel flap that is not the hold one, knit one, or the slip stitch heel flap. It is a stockinette heel flap. It's all knit stitches, just like your short row heel turn. But when you get to the bottom, instead of increasing or decreasing, you remove these third and this third over here. So you only have these needles right here in the machine. And then as you're knitting across these needles, on the yarn carrier side, you're hanging a stitch from underneath. That's the same as knit two together. So knit two together and a rehang of a stitch onto another needle is the same thing. And here is, I need to get in the camera. There's it. Can you see that? So this right here is those 10 needles. Well, in this case, it was 12 because this was done on a 72. And then these are the knit two together on either side of that heel flap. You're hanging the heel flap along the sides. So this is called the cap heel. Now with the Dutch heel, we're making the double thickness of the heel flap with the slip stitch heel flap. And what happens there is it's short, it's fat, it's thick, but we have extra selvage stitches. So those extra selvage stitches are going on instep needles. And then we're going to short row that gusset and then knit in the instep on top of it. So the heel turn on the Dutch heel or square heel is exactly the same as the heel turn on the cap heel. These are all rehung stitches. None of them are short rowed. Now, the more you short row, wrong sock. The more you short row, the deeper it gets. So this one, I have short rowed half and rehung the other half. So this one has the same count as what your hand knitting instructions would have. Those of you who are hand knitters know the instructions say, knit across the row, knit two together, knit one, wrap and turn. Knit across the row, knit two together, knit one, wrap and turn. So we already know that knit two together is the same as rehanging a stitch from one needle onto another needle. And wrap and turn is the same as picking the needle up and doing a short row. So it's a rehang stitch, a short row stitch, a rehang stitch, a short row stitch. All I have done here is put all of the short rows together and all of the rehangs together. So I have all of the wrap and turns and all of the knit two togethers. I just joined them up. But the math on this would be the exact same as the hand knit heel turn. So this is a 2-color example, and I have here, this is a cap heel that is all rehung. This is a good use for a cap heel when you want to add a design that goes all the way down the heel to the heel turn. But as you can see, looking at the bottom, there's no short rowing going on there. Ooh, need a camera angle. That's kind of good. Kinda, sorta. So those are all rehung on either side. And then these 12 in the back come straight across the bottom there. And if I were to not rehang any of them and short row all of them, I would get a moose. I would get a heel flap that is so tall. I mean, look at the size of that heel cup. It's monstrous. So with this technique, you can make a deeper heel flap just by doing more short rows and fewer rehangs. So I measured my instep and I measured around my heel to the instep and subtracted the instep from that. And the math for my foot comes out with the same 2/3 rows, extra rows match. So here's a sock that I did And this has the same thing. I have the 12 back here that don't get touched from the center third of this cylinder. And then the second third are split in two. Half of them are short rowed, half of them are rehung. Now you'll notice here that, oh, I'm off camera again. Sorry, I'm looking at the sock and not at the computer screen. When I come down to here and I follow that stitch back, that is 6 stitches in. So I have, this is done on the 72, I have 36 rows for 18 selvage stitches. 6 of them, these 6 here, are going to hang on the empty stitches that came from here, or empty needles rather. And these 12 are the gusset that are going to be hung up on the instep needles. Okay, so here we go. So I have 15 on this side, 14 on that side. I am going to remove 10. You know what? We'll save that for a minute. Let's get the heel turn done first. So I have 10 stitches from the third of here to the third of here. So I've decided that I'm going to do, you know, the 2/3 math part. So I am going to do short row on 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one came right out of the cylinder. Go back, go back, go back. And then these 5 are going to be rehung. So I'm taking those right out. They're coming right out just like this. And I'm gonna lay them right down inside the cylinder. So there's those 5 there. Now I'm gonna come back across here, lifting this first one so that I get that 15th chain stitch. Now my last row is done, but I'm all set up over here for beginning the heel turn. So over here, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna take 5 out. I'm gonna take this weight off first. I think I'm just gonna go with the center one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then these 5 are gonna come up. So I have my short row right here. So I'm gonna knit back across to these and I'm gonna start, get my weight in there first. Excellent. So when I drop a needle or lift a needle, I generally take needles out opposite the yarn carrier, but only because this is where my heel spring extender is. That's why I move over there. So I'm one of these that likes to do a full wrap because some of my designs don't work without a full wrap. So there's my first increase. Second increase, need to move that weight over a little bit. Third increase. Number 4. So if you're reading, I just saw comments in there about reading the instructions. I wrote that as a tutorial that should be done from the cap heel onward. So I explain a lot in the beginning, like where I do the cap heel, that I don't explain later on in the tutorial. So that could hardly be the confusion part, because I didn't extend the language all the way through it. Okay, last increase on this side, short row increase. last short row increase on this side. Now, when I'm rehanging stitches, I'm just gonna, you pick it up, pick the needle up. You have to pick up the working yarn. If I were to hang this like this working yarn is gonna leave almost like a purl bump on the right side of the fabric that is gonna come back to the inside. So pick up the working yarn and hang underneath it. And then most of the time you have to flip it back. So I pick up that edge needle, pick up the working yarn, hang the stitch, put the working yarn back behind it. That's going to keep this invisible. So I'll show you again. This is probably the wrong sock to show. So if I had picked up over the top, I don't think I messed up on this one. I need to find a sock that I messed up on. But there will be a purl bump on the right side of the fabric. So you got to hang underneath the working yarn. There, my hands are getting in the way again. I'm going to catch that before it just like runs away. Flip that right back up there. That was close. Okay, looks like. Did I lose something here? There is a possibility I was hanging things out of order over here because I have two big ones that don't belong there. So I think I can fix this. Maybe I can show you how to fix this. So I need to zoom in. I need to change the camera angle so that you can see this. All right, zoom. Come on, play with me here. I think it's telling me I'm as zoomed as zoom can get. Nothing like mistakes. Okay, here we go. Now we're on the right side for this. Can we zoom in? No, it's not letting me play. It's saying, no, you can't do this. All right. So what I did, this is my edge stitch because there is a stitch and a wrap on that.
Hey, Valerie.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, can we look through your magnifying glass? Is it possible you can show people what's going on right there?
Oh, let's see if that works. Oh, that does. Oh my gosh, that kind of works. Now let's see if I can do it with one hand. Ew, this is gonna make me seasick. Okay, you see these two holes right here? This is my edge stitch. This is the last one that's supposed to be hung because there are two stitches on that. Well, there's one stitch and the wrap. And then underneath that, see, I have a connection right here, but I have a stitch that needs to be hung there, and I have a connection there and a stitch that needs to be hung there. So what I'm going to do is, since both of those are hung on this needle, because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out, I'm going to rip straight down there and pick them up coming back, and hopefully I don't screw it up. So let's go. So we're gonna leave that one right there. And I think you're gonna come to know that I absolutely love my bobby pins. They're the best stitch holders ever. Let's get this out of the way. Let's wrap it around that one a couple of times. Okay, so I need to determine which is getting picked up and which one is not. So I'm going to pull that out like that, and I'm going to rip that stitch down. Okay, rip once. Come on, there you go. So here's that one. So I'm just going to hang that there for a minute. One of these is supposed to have a needle in it, and I do believe it should show as 2 stitches. I do believe it is that one, because that one comes off the heel flap. So there's one needle that's back where it needs to be. And I have my loose stitch right here that is about to go through another, where's my work hook? This stitch right here is loose. See that? It's about to go through 2 stitches. When I rip out, I gotta take this weight off too. Crash. All right, so very carefully ripping that puppy out. There we go. So this is supposed to have a needle in it. Ta-da! And where'd that live stitch go? That live stitch has gone and disappeared on me. Here it is. Found it right there. Ta-da! I have it. Okay, so at this point in time, on this side, I have 1, 2, 3. So I obviously need 3 on this side. 1, 2, 3. So this is the one that's supposed to be hanging right here. So ta-da! So far, so good. I have the stitches. Now I need the yarn to pull through them, which is going to be this one. There's one. Now I'm going to find the next one that's supposed to be there. That one. And this is the yarn that's supposed to knit through that one. All right. Something tells me I should also have, you know what? If you have too much yarn and you're not quite sure that that's going to like suck up the way it's supposed to, you can always create a wrap. Well, I've probably gone and messed that up, but we're going to continue anyway because, well, that's what we do. We continue. I'm going to have the right number of chain stitches. I'm just not going to have a very clean turn. So coming back over here so that you can see what I'm doing. Got to rethread this puppy. I need another stitch in here. You know, I'm thinking I could get away without having that wrap that I just threw on there to take up some space. I think I can get away without that. All right, so I need one more stitch. It's probably where I messed up. I didn't have 2 stitches. I should have stitched then come around and stitch back, because that's how this thing works. I have this on this side. Make sure I got the right one. This is the right one right here. No, that does need to be on this side. Okay, back in business. Put all these pins away. There we go. Rethread this puppy. Weights. Got the weights on the one side. Weights on the other side. I almost, let me double check here. This looks like it's a drop stitch too. It is, that's a drop stitch too. Well, teach me. So this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one goes here with its wrap. All right, now we're ready. All those drops were probably because I didn't have my needles up, or my weights, sorry. Pick up the thread and stitch. Thread on the other side. This is going to be the next one. Thread up. Hang. Thread back. Almost there, almost done. Huh. This one, I'm just going to give it a little help. I'm going to spread the stitch. I was hanging the wrap, but not the stitch. I'm going to spread that out a little bit and force it over that needle. It's arguing with me. There we go. Ta-da! No more argue. Now this is our last one. So I'm going to go ahead and hang it. But I don't do the last row until I set up for the next segment. So we're going to leave that sit there for a minute. Just sit there and behave yourself. Okay, now I need to hang 15 selvage stitches. I only have 5 blank spaces. So I need to create 10 more. And here's where my wonderful, wonderful bobby pins come in. They're cheap. You get them by 100 pack. They slide in. And they're nice and big and fat. So that they're easier to pick up than a needle. I have too much weight on here. And they don't have a tendency to drop. So there's 1. 2. 3. 4. And it just so happens that these 10 are going to go to my next heel wrap, or my next heel mark, actually my toe mark on the front. So if you short row half of the heel stitches of your increase, and you rehang half, Your selvage stitches are going to go to the mark because we have 10 selvage stitches. Now, if you want to make a deep heel, instead of short rowing 5 and rehanging 5, then what you would do is short row 6 and rehang 4, or short row 7 and rehang 3. I'm going to fill in the rest of these blanks. Let's see if the cylinder is going to let me do this. Nope. This is a fairly new cylinder, and it doesn't seem to like the space. The butts of my needles don't fit underneath they just won't grab the spring. So I have a spring holder, no big deal. Okay, so here we go. Just to make things work out, whether they want to work out or not. Let me see, that's a stockinette. So this is my first chain stitch. Now here's one for you. So I'm going to do a demo real quick. Another demo, a demo on top of the demo. Hands back. See, I'm in front of a camera, but I'm looking at the computer screen. So I'm going to do a chain, a nice big one, so that you can see it. Okay? So here's my chain. So right here, I have 3 loops, or 3, I call them legs. There's 3 legs in that chain. Okay? Since this one comes underneath here, this kind of looks like a knit stitch. When you turn it sideways, this is the knit stitch. So those 3 legs, you're going to have one that's right on the edge. Actually, this looks more realistic. This is going to be on the edge of your fabric. This one is going to be on the purl side. This one is going to be on the knit side. If you pick up all 3, it's going to show as a whole. So you only want to pick 2. Depending on the design that you're doing, you may want this as an outline thread on the right side. I'll show you a sock where I'm trying to do that. But for our heel flap, we don't want to outline that. So we're going to pick up the 2 sides that are on the 2 legs that are on the stockinette side, and we're going to leave this free loop. That one. It's on the purl side. That one gets left. Now, when I hang these, this is going to get taken up by these 2. As I pull, this one's going to get short, and these are going to get really big. So it's going to look like there's going to be a hole. But as soon as I wash this sock, that free loop just takes that thread right back in, and it tucks everything nice and neat. Okay, end of the chain demo. So I'm going to stretch these out nice and neat, and I'm going to grab that first one. I'm going to grab the 2 legs on the stockinette side. Ooh, when I first started this was pretty tight. And I'm going to hang them on that needle. These might not cooperate with me. So then I'm just going to come down the line. Let me see if I can get this camera in there. I'm taking my phone off of the tripod. Ooh, that's pretty intense. So here's this V.
Oh, wow.
So those are the 2 legs.
That's excellent. You really can see it well.
Oh, good. But those aren't the 2 that I want, because this one is on the purl side. I want this big one on this side. Let's see if I can turn that for you. These are the 2 that I want. That's the chain leg that's on the edge and the chain leg that's on the stockinette side. I did get these really tight. Oops.
Hey, Valerie, I don't know if it's intentional, but we've lost the needles.
Oh, it's because I'm watching my right hand and my left hand is wandering.
Right there.
So I'm going to have to.
That's perfect.
Right there's good.
Yeah, right there is really good. Yeah, good.
Okay, I'll try to hold really still. I don't know if you noticed, I loosened the tension up about like 6 rows in on this. So this is not going to be happy when I try to knit this. Oops. Stop those babies from moving. Oop, I've wandered off again. But you can see on the back side, I have my free loop right here. And even too tight, I can still seem to get these. I got to put this camera back down so that I can use both hands. So this is going to slide into, let it adjust to the lighting. So let me just whip this out real quick. This one needs to actually be over here. Get over there, you. Get over there. I'm going to have to knit this really slow because these are really tight. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. Hoorah. This is not going to be a happy machine. Push those babies down. Woo. Okay, so now I'm going to flip that yarn over. I have to apply some weights to that side. So I'm going to be doing the last rehang on this side. And I did have all of these hung up over here. Make sure that all the rest of the instep needles are up. If you don't have enough weight on these and your spring is in here and you come around, those will drop because the spring has been holding them up. So just add some more weight. I'm going to take 1 pound off of here, so I only have 1 pound on there because I think that's all I'm going to need to hold those needles up. Okay, let's see if this actually works. We're going to go nice and slow. These ones are going to be fine. But over here, I didn't loosen the tension up. Come on, baby. Let's go. Skip, skip. Skip to Malou, my darling. She's in no wants to go. I'm afraid if I force it, my computer screen's going to go hasta la bye-bye. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to loosen this up a little bit. As soon as I can find a needle here that get some of this tension off of here. Well, gosh, I know y'all signed up to watch me make a heel flap, not watch me make a whole bunch of mistakes, like have the wrong tension on the machine.
Valerie, you have no idea the comments we're getting. People are just over the moon. It's good. We're doing fine.
Okay. So I'm just going to move this puppy over to relieve some of the tension on these. And then maybe, now that still feels awful tight. Maybe we need to relieve a little bit more tension. See, I can't even pull those out of there. So I guess, my husband's a carpenter and he says the mark of a good carpenter is how well he hides his mistakes. Okay, so these are gonna knit, but it doesn't matter. There's no stitches on them. I just want to get this jam out of here. Ta-da! Nice. Okay, perfect. That is out. So maybe what I'm gonna have to do is rehang a couple at a time just to get that through. Oh, where I learned this whole rehang a couple at a time trick is doing cables that are too big and not meant to be done. Oh, actually, these are going on real easy. It may have just been that first 2 needles, because these are actually going on pretty easy now. Let me pick these up so they don't fall down. Yeah, so if you're doing cables, you can easily do a 2x2 cable on the machine at tension. But if you get a little aggressive and try to do a 3x3 or a 5x5, things can get a little hairy. So you just add a few rows to the cable leg. So that's essentially what I'm doing here. So I did these 2, and they're up. This one needs to go up. Instead of coming around, I'm just going to pull up the slack right here. And I'm going to knit these. Eventually, I'll get all of them knit. So here we go. Pull this one up, because these ones got in there really comfortable. Now, I'll do that one more time, and I'll have all 15 of them knitted. Down, 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 down. Okay. See, there's more than one way to skin a horse or cat or whatever. All right, so that one belonged there. I think this is gonna work just fine. Oops, missed a leg. You probably didn't see that because camera angle is way off. All right, let me pull up these ones that have already been knit. Pull back, 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 back. There we go. Oh, this one hasn't been knit yet. Ah. I'm probably gonna have the same problem on the other side because I knit that side, well, too tight too. Okay, well, hey, check that out. Except I have 2 of them on there. That's all right. What I'll do is I'll take this off. Hey, another way to hide your mistakes, okay, is you pick up the purl bar on the back side. Is that purl bar right there? Can you see that? So anyway, I had the same loop on both of these 2 needles. So I just took it off of this one, and I'm gonna take that purl bar on the back. Mistake hidden. Awesome, eh? Okay. Now, let's talk about, see, this is our gusset. So we are going to short row from the heel mark. Let me come to the inside so you can see that. From the heel mark right here to the halfway mark here. So I'm only, even though I have 15 gusset stitches, I'm only going to short row or, you know, make 10 of those disappear. Now there's different ways that you can knit in the gusset. The gusset is all decreases. So we're decreasing 10 here and we're decreasing 10 here. So that was the same number of decreases that you would do on the short row heel. You do on a 30 stitch heel, you would do 20 increases and 20 decreases. So that's what we're gonna do. Here's a couple of designs that I did. This one, I decreased into the center of the sole. So the sock has this, I'm gonna zoom out. Come on, cooperate with me now. Let's go. There we go. I just have a delay going on. Okay, so it's hard to see because of the color. This line right here, that's where my gussets were decreased. They weren't decreased off the top like the other socks. So the bottom, let me open this up. The bottom looks like this. So I have my round heel flap, which has, this was done on 72 6 short row, followed by 6 knit 2 together, or 6 rehang, and then all of the gusset stitches were, yeah, see that lighting's really not picking that up, but you can see that the stitches move towards the center of the sole. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is, let me put my hand inside this sock. This one, I actually like this design, so I'm going to publish this one. So it's got a cool leaf pattern. It's 2x2 rib at the top. If you don't have an equal slot ribber, you can do 1x3 and then relatch one of those. But check out I need a good camera angle. Look for how the stitches. Ooh, there you go. There you go. I don't like the lighting. Let me see. I'm going to look at the computer. I have one row that starts back here and decreases partway. It stops there. So instead of, I have my 6 short row here, and instead of rehanging, I started my gusset decreases way back here. So since a rehang is a knit 2 together, I did my knit 2 together down here into the sole. So I have 6, wish I have more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, nope, that's 6. I have 6 rehangs coming down off of that. So it almost looks like I have one short row, then a row, and then these other short row stitches kind of curve around going the other way. And then out here, maybe the color's a little darker so you can see better. Ooh, camera angle, right here. They don't start back here where the heel flap is. They start 6 stitches out, directly above where this one ends. And this is the second line that comes down. So it's kind of cool. It has a slightly softer shape on the sole of the heel. It's a little wider. It doesn't come to a point. So bad camera angle, looking at the computer screen. Okay, so here we go. So here's the first set right here, and the second set right here. You can see the second set a little easier because it's darker. These ones fit much better because my problem with the ones that decreased to the heel, you see how sharp this angle is down in the camera, where's camera? There we go, right here. This angle is pretty sharp. So every time I pick my foot up when I'm barefoot, not wearing shoes, this point acts as a fulcrum on the sole of my foot, and my heel comes right up out of that heel pocket. So even though these are, you know, it's a really cool stitch pattern. Yeah, I won't be repeating this sole or this decrease again. The ones that I'm working on right now, I think are going to be my favorites. I still have pins in these because I took them off the machine. These ones were a no-brainer. I didn't have to think about it. I started the gusset decrease. Camera angle, where's camera? Oh gosh, you can't even see that, can you? Let me try to find a shadow.
Val,
okay, there we go.
Val,
there we go. Yeah.
That's amazing.
We're just blown away, and so is everybody else. We really are. It's amazing. The last comment I see is, "Oh my God, sock goals." And I'm gonna just go back through the comments and questions, and maybe you can answer them as we go. We've got 15 minutes till Pete Oswald is on, so you're still good, but just amazing. Okay, so people have been sharing your pattern. Somebody said, this one looks like a double gusset sock heel. I hand knit socks with a double gusset, and it is my favorite heel. Can't wait to try it on the machine.
Yes.
Where can I find the printed patterns? Is it or pattern?
I haven't written those yet.
Okay, all right.
I play with designs. They're in my notebooks. I have 2 3-ring binders full of like ideas and sketches and math, and I have samples laying around. So that sock, the double gusset one, I'm gonna publish that one, and this one I'll publish this one. This one's all flat knit. This one starts here, and it's one continuous line of curved stitches. They curve up this way and over this way.
Okay, let me keep going here.
Okay.
Emily says the red sock with the gusset on the bottom is how I hand knit my socks. I need a full tutorial on that. I'm just running through. I just bought your patterns on Ravelry. Valerie shows why you learn more if you don't stop and redo. Valerie, sock whisperer. Please ask her to teach again.
Okay.
Valerie is incredible. I am so enjoying this.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
This is so cool to see the way to correct your mistakes. Things like this just happen, and this helps so much. Never would have ever thought of this. Here's one. Could you also just loop the yarn through the slip stitches manually and hang? I think when you were doing that heel gusset, that's when that question came up. Could you also?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you could, because that's how you would put it on the knitting needles. You would use, I use a crochet hook, and I just pull it up through the crochet hook. And yes, that might, in this particular instance, that would be better. But generally, I have the tension dialed in on the leg, and by the time I get to the heel, I have no problem just flipping those puppies over the needles.
Puppies.
A lot of puppies.
Lots of
yeah,
puppies.
I know there's a lot of puppies in there.
Somebody said we'll never get to this level. Awesome. Next person.
You will get to this level if you don't redo your sock. Don't rip it out and redo it. Just keep trying to fix those mistakes. Analyze how it looks, how it's supposed to look, and just keep samples. I have Ziploc baggies full of samples.
Okay. Somebody says mind explored and exploded. Maria says I really want to try this. Somebody else said I love the pattern of the red sock. So
the red sock's great. This is Flibbertigibbet on here. I'll put it back on the camera. On Ravelry. This pattern was from the Tour de Sock. The Tour de Sock ran for 3 years, and it's no longer active, but designers would throw up a pattern, and this one I adapted a little bit for the CSM. It wasn't all that difficult. It has only groups of 3 rib stitches. There's a rib stitch that comes all the way down the center. The pattern on Ravelry, this diamond is full of purl stitches, which I hate relatching purl stitches. So I tried to use lace techniques, and because this ribbon kind of zigzags, I wanted it to zigzag around the corner. It didn't come out really well, but these diamond edges are great. I love this pattern. I have the purple sock. This one is a free pattern. This one's a little tricky to do because when you're doing these
Complicated.
tulips, when you're doing the tulips, you have to know which, because these like say this knit line right here that comes all the way around, and you see it's on top of these stitches, how that comes around. So what you would do is you would pull these stitches, you'd pull those needles, hang that stitch, put that stitch in that slot, and then put these stitches behind that needle. And then when you get over into these ones that are coming into here, it's just the opposite.
I'd pull a hamstring doing that.
It's, oh, I don't have my notebook up here. If you go to craftyarn.com.
Is that your website?
No, that is not my website. That's the Yarn Council of America.
Okay.
So I think if you just Google Yarn Council of America, it will come up. They have all of the knitting symbols that are used on charts and what they mean. So if it's a knit two together, it's going to have a symbol, and a slip one, knit one, pass slip stitched over. That gives you a different angle. So essentially what that means is a knit two together is, that's not a knit two together. Where's a knit two together? Where they go in. They have to go under for a knit two together.
Okay.
So here, now that actually looks like a lace stitch. So the knit two together, you hang the stitch over the top of the existing needle. So I would take this needle and I would just put that stitch over the top of this one. That's a knit two together. But when you have a slip one, knit one, pass slip stitch over.
Why people with some more information.
Yeah, you remove this one, move this needle over to that slot, and then hang this one, and then those curves come behind.
So Valerie.
Yes.
What is your contact info for your patterns and that kind of stuff? Do you have a website? Do you have a Facebook page? How can people follow you and learn more of what you're doing? Because you're doing amazing stuff on these machines.
Oh, thanks. I'm on Facebook. The groups that I post in mostly with when I'm trying out new designs is the Facebook Mars group, Mid-Atlantic Region Sock Knitters. We get together for a crank-in. We try to get together once a month. Usually November and December are out. But with coronavirus, well, this is the first crank-in I've been to for a while.
It's been amazing.
You were
Well, I have to say, all of our presenters today have been amazing. It's just everybody has stepped up to the plate and just knocked it out of the park.